is this?
What? What on earth? Oh my God! What the hell? What the hell? That is you doing? No, this is not right. You cannot do this.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Absolutely despicable.
Whoa, God, an awful powerbomb.
Despicable.
No, not again. Come on!
Goodness me.
What the hell has come over Jim Diehard? He wasn't meant to be here tonight. He's not on the...
Let's get lights up. Yeah. Okay.
Jim, thanks for coming. Resurgence have reached out to you because we have questions that we want answered. I understand that you've told them you would only talk to me. Thank you for what I assume is a show of trust. To set the scene for those who weren't aware, our last show, November 20th, Once Upon a Time in Resurgence, we had a match between RJ Singh and Harry Singh. Very well received, very good competitive match, and a show of respect at the end, something of a passing of the torch moment, at which point you chose to attack both of them from behind. Jim, I've known you a long time. I've seen your attitude change myriad times throughout the years. I've even seen you jump RJ from behind before because you felt you were being overlooked. This feels somewhat different to me. So I guess the question on everybody's lips is why? Why them at that moment? Why attack anybody in the first place? What's the motivation here, mate?
Charles, that moment for me, I could not take another minute of what I was seeing in that ring on that night, Charles. You've known me a long time and I've never been an unreasonable man. You came to me a few years ago and told me about Resurgence getting off the ground, and they wanted me to come there, and I did come there. I was the first man to ever set foot in that building. I built the ring myself with these hands. I was the first man there that day. I built that ring there for years. How many years did I build that ring there, Charles?
It's been 4 years now, it was the 4th anniversary.
So the world shuts down. We have a global pandemic. And Resurgence chose to use that as the perfect opportunity to get rid of me. No, don't shake your head. That's exactly what happened. They took that as the opportunity to get rid of me. And what's worse is they invited me to come and spectate that night. Do you know how much of an insult that is? Charles, I'm a 20-year veteran of pro wrestling. I was the first man on the first show in that building that day. I built that ring for 4 years. To be invited as a spectator, can you see why that is a big insult to me?
I can see that. I can see I can see how you're viewing the situation. But you have to, I don't know, I want to kind of be a not neutral, but kind of a middleman here and say, you know, if you wanted to wrestle on the show that badly, if you wanted to be part of it and get back there in the ring, you could have asked us, you know?
Charles.
You could have said that that's what you wanted.
Here's a question for you.
Okay.
Why didn't you ask? Why didn't any of the fans of Resurgence ask, why isn't Big Jim on the show? Who was asking these questions?
I mean, for my part, I did ask. I said, you know, what's the plan with
Yeah,
him?
you asked.
He's been...
You asked,
Yeah.
and then you didn't have the courtesy to come to me and say that this is going to happen, these shows are going to restart, and guess what, buddy? You're not included anymore. How do you think that makes me feel, Charles? You call yourself my friend for the last 20 years, Charles. Nearly 20 years I've known you. From the 20 people in a working men's club kind of shows on a good night, let me tell you that. To where we are now, to Resurgence, watching it go from strength to strength over the last 4 years, and then to not see my name on that list when they started announcing matches. To know that I was not wanted there in any capacity, and then to have the insult of being asked to come and spectate. And my friend Charles didn't even have the courtesy to give me the heads up that this is what's going to happen. Do you know what that says to me?
What's that say?
That I was not invited to wrestle on that show. What that says to me is that I'm past it. That's the message I've got there. You're past it. You're no longer wanted. You're out of style. You can't keep up with these kids. You've never been on the WWE network. You can't go with the kind of caliber that happens at Wrestling Resurgence. You're not good enough. That's what it says to me. Don't put it to me like I was given a night off as a favour to me. I've been sat at home for the best part of 2 years waiting for wrestling to make its return. This is all I know, Charles. I spent that time getting myself in the shape of my life to not even get a message to tell me that I was no longer required, to get a message at the last minute to ask me if I wanted to come along as a guest. Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity to come along to your sold out show and not be involved. How kind of you. You think, you know me, Charles, you think I'm just going to sit there and tolerate that? No. Something had to be done that night, and RJ and Harry Singh were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they were just the final straw that broke this camel's back.
Right, so with all that in mind, with everything that you're taking issue with here in terms of what Resurgence is doing, seeming to leave you behind, even though I don't necessarily think that's the case. With all that in mind, why in particular attack RJ Singh? Because RJ was there with us on those shows in front of 20 people in a working men's club, like you said. He's paid his dues more than, he's gone through every hardship that we've gone through, mate. He doesn't seem like the target for this dispute.
Because, Charles, exactly what you said. I respect RJ as a professional wrestler for everything he'd done. He came up, he paid his dues exactly the same as I did. And what did he do at the end of that match? He dropped to his knees and symbolically handed over his entire legacy to Harry Singh. Now, RJ Singh was put in a match on that show, a high-profile match on that show, while I was sitting in the stands. He lost that match, and he handed his legacy over to the next generation that didn't go through the hardships that I went through, that RJ went through. He handed it all over to them. And I wasn't even deemed good enough to be in the ring that night. And if RJ wants to hand over his legacy and sail off into the sunset and call it time and tell the world that he's past it, let RJ Singh do that. But not on my watch. Absolutely not on my watch. I'm in the best shape of my life. I've spent the entire lockdown getting myself in the best condition of my life. I'm not past it. If RJ wants to say he's past it, let him say he's past it. But you know what? If he wants to become just a memory and fade away, I'll be the one that fades him away.
Well, on that note, in my capacity as an official representative of Resurgence, I can tell you that RJ Singh is booked for our next show, which is here at the Y Theatre on January the 15th. Contrary to the claims you've been making, you are also booked for January the 15th. There is an offer on the table for you to face RJ Singh, and Resurgence would like your response to that.
If RJ wants a match with me on January 15th here in the Y, I'm happy to have a match with RJ. If Resurgence are happy with what I'm going to do to RJ in a one-on-one match, I'm happy to have that match. If RJ wants to sail off into the sunset and act like this is the end of his career, I'm quite happy to put him out of his misery. I have put in so much graft to get myself in the shape of my life. This is not the end for me. If this is the last chapter for RJ, it's only the beginning for me. We done? Get this off me.